"So you thought your acid reflux was just innocent annoyance?" my doctor asked. Then looking me straight in the eyes, he added, "You were dead wrong." I wasn't sure if the pun was intended. My wife's shivering hand squeezed mine as tears ran down her chin. "Don't worry, we'll get through this," she sobbed, maybe more to convince herself than me. Frozen with fear, I couldn't speak. Only one thought circled through my mind. I'm too young to die. You don't anticipate this kind of shock when seeking medical advice for acid reflux, do you? Yes, heartburn makes your life miserable. It robs you of sleep, ruins your meals, and embarrasses you with burp and gas outbursts in the worst places. At worst, you fear ulcer, which is, of course, horrible. But death? You don't expect that. If you frequently suffer heartburn, you should, however, prepare for the worst. I'll tell you why. Not being able to sleep that night, I Googled the health risks of acid reflux. What I found was terrifying. Recent studies prove that acid reflux is the #1 cause of not just 1 or 2, but 6 types of fatal cancers. And we're talking strong connection. Heartburn increases your risk of cancer in the larynx by 286%, cancer in the hypopharynx by 254%, cancer in the oropharynx by 247%, cancer in the tonsils by 214%, cancer in the nasopharynx by 204%, cancer in the sinuses by 140%. Sum it all up, and you're 1,345% more likely to get one of these 6 cancers than does a person who doesn't suffer heartburn. 1,345%. That's a lot. Acid reflux is more dangerous than smoking, the researchers concluded. Millions of people die every year because they don't take their heartburn seriously enough. And there I was, ready to be another name on a grave. It wasn't my fault, really. I'll explain in a second how I finally got rid of my acid reflux using a simple home remedy that only takes 4 or 5 minutes to make. You most likely have all the ingredients sitting in your kitchen. So, if you want, you should be able to take the first sip within 10 minutes from now. Had I known about this remedy before, I would probably not have received the dire news that day. But with what I knew then, I couldn't have done much differently. Like most people suffering heartburn, I was loading up on proton pump inhibitors, PPI medications, thinking they were safe. Well, they are not. According to a study from Washington University in St. Louis, PPI drugs increase your risk of dying within a year by a terrifying 50%. Another study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association proved that PPI pills drastically increase your risk of stroke. And in a new study from the University of Hong Kong and University College London, published in the peer-reviewed journal Gut, these same drugs were found to double your risk of stomach cancer. Maybe worst of all, they also double your risk of kidney disease. Hey, I can live with stomach ulcers, but I can't live without my kidneys or stomach. Other heartburn medications, such as antacids and H2 blockers, such as Tums and Zantac, may or may not be a little bit safer. However, numerous studies have also found a row of life-threatening side effects from these drugs. Putting it bluntly, it's a matter of life and death that you naturally address your acid reflux immediately today. Don't put it off another day. Plus, these drugs cost a fortune. When my insurance company stopped co-paying for my medication a few years back, I had to shuffle out over $5,000 a year for heartburn prescriptions. Even after I turned to cheaper over-the-counter PPIs, I was still paying close to $2,000 a year for drugs that were actually murdering me. Okay, finally, some good news. Additional testing luckily revealed that my cancer diagnosis was a false alarm, false positive they called it. At that point, however, I was informed enough to realize I had gotten a second chance at life. But it wouldn't last long unless I cured my acid reflux as soon as possible. PPI and other heartburn medications only temporarily mask the symptoms. They do not cure your acid reflux or GERD. Therefore, they do nothing to protect you from dying from cancer and other causes. In fact, they drastically increase your risk of dying. So I knew I had to handle my acid reflux naturally, which is easier said than done. The internet is full of well-meaning tips for acid reflux. I'm sure you've tried everything from baking soda to just carrying around Tums everywhere you go. When other common wisdoms such as sleeping sitting up, not eating spicy food, and avoiding sugar, chocolates, and tomato sauce is to no avail, you are running out of options, aren't you? So you get what I was facing. Finally, my luck changed when a friend referred me to a man named Scott Davis. Scott is somewhat of a legend in the natural health research field. He has come up with solutions for numerous health issues the traditional medical system has no answer for. Among those are acid reflux and GERD disease. At the age of 84, he dedicated most of his time to research and was not seeing many people in person. In fact, he seemed quite irritated having to deal with such a mundane issue as my acid reflux. You see, for someone like you and me, who have endured the pain of acid reflux for so long, curing it deserves the Nobel Prize and its $1 million award, right? Scott, however, had helped so many people with heartburn, it had become old hat. It wasn't a challenge for him anymore. He only helped me because my friend was Scott's nephew and really expressed how desperate I was. Well, he did charge me $200 for a 30-minute session, which I, at that time, thought was kind of a ripoff. That is, until I realized how effective his method is. In fact, this is the best investment I have made. Not just because of my health, but also because I'm saving almost $2,000 every year in medications. I don't mind effortlessly banking an extra $2,000 a year, would you? That's 1,000% return on investment every year. Beat that, Wall Street. But obviously, saving my health and life was my only motivation that day. Scott told me that the 3-step system he had developed works for pretty much anyone, and if I followed it in detail, it would help me too. Let's see, I thought to myself, quite skeptical. As Scott gently shuffled me out the door, he gave me a printout of 43 pages listing the 3 steps he wanted me to take. Part 1 was his quick fix, including his simple acid reflux remedy. I could make the remedy right away, as it included only 3 ingredients I already had in my kitchen. I was amazed to feel the pain melt away. That night, I slept through without any bloating, burbling, or throat burning for the first time in decades. Imagine the joy of waking up the next day feeling great. No gasping for air and spitting up acid before breakfast. I made the formula again in the morning, and the whole day passed without any reflux. This was great. Several days and nights passed without any heartburn issues. I drank a glass of the formula 2 to 3 times a day, and it was keeping my stomach in great shape. Sometimes I would add 1 or 2 of the extra herbs Scott recommended to boost the effectiveness of his remedy even further. Herbs number 6 and 9 on his list were especially effective, and I could get them from any supermarket along with the other ingredients. The best part was being able to eat and drink anything I wanted, even fattening and heavy comfort food, which can really cause heartburn. I could have coffee in the morning, a glass of red wine in the evening, and even a bit of spicy food for lunch. I didn't dare try spicy for dinner. Heck, I had even forgotten that a sip of bourbon wasn't supposed to be painful. All I did was make sure that I had a shot of Scott's remedy when I knew I was going to eat or drink something that I shouldn't. Every day I felt powerful and full of energy and focus. This was amazing because I had tried literally hundreds of home remedy recipes before I met Scott. The internet is full of those recipes. I'm sure Scott's remedy has been ripped off somewhere, although I haven't seen it anywhere else. But you'd have to literally go through thousands of failures before finding it, if you ever do. Some of those online remedies I tried helped a little for a few days, but they always stopped working. Others made my pain worse. Scott's remedy has never failed me. That's except when I failed Scott. What do I mean by failing Scott? You know what happens when we get a good thing going. We too quickly forget the hard times. And little by little I began to forget taking the remedy. I would run out of the ingredients or forget to take it with me when traveling. Or most idiotic of all, sometimes I thought I didn't have 5 minutes to spare to make it. Imagine having a remedy that you know would eliminate your acid reflux every time, and you just decide in your mind that it's not worth 5 minutes to make it. Well, my brain is obviously not the brightest, and that was okay for a few days, until one night when the reflux assaulted me with full force again. As luck would have it, it was exactly a night spent in a hotel where I had none of the ingredients needed. Worst night of my life. Most of it was spent with my head in the toilet. That's when I got it. Just like prescription medications, the remedy was dealing only with the symptoms. It is, of course, natural and not causing any side effects, but no matter how effective it wasn't curing my acid reflux. I had promised Scott not to get stuck with the remedy and also take the other 2 steps in his system. Well, this night reminded me of that promise. And the hours that passed before I could get to a supermarket and buy the ingredients for the formula nailed that memory in deeply. When I got home, I immediately began working Scott's program for real. The next step was to give my stomach a break. It wasn't enough to use the mixture that soothed my stomach. I actually had to cut out the foods that were triggering it. Scott had given me a list of foods to look out for, followed by a long list of delicious foods that are good and soothing for the stomach. I got it all wrong before. Okay, I knew about sugar, spicy foods, tomatoes, and many of the other obvious trigger foods, but I had no idea about most of the things on Scott's list. And here is the thing nobody tells you about acid reflux diets. It is not about avoiding certain types of foods. It's the food combinations in your meals that are much more important. Scott taught me 6 simple fundamentals for food combination for acid reflux. Using these fundamentals, I'm actually able to eat lots of foods that previously would have caused terrible bloating attacks. I just avoid combining these bad foods with other foods that promote heartburn. And finally, the 3rd step, the huge misunderstanding about stress and acid reflux. You know the saying, having a knot in the stomach when someone is stressed or in dread? It's no wonder, because when you are stressed or anxious, you feel it in your guts, right? It's like your intestines are twisted and turned. Now, when acid reflux bloats your stomach, it tricks your body into thinking you're under major stress, even when there is nothing to stress about, other than the pain, of course. This triggers your brain to release a ton of stress hormones. This causes you to feel even more stressed, which again gives you that knot in the stomach feeling and triggers acid reflux. It's a vicious circle of heartburn and stress. That's why traditional stress management doesn't ease acid reflux. Scott, meanwhile, taught me 4 powerful techniques, each of which taking only 2 to 3 minutes, and focuses on the mind-stomach relationship. I began using these techniques anytime I sensed a small tension in my stomach, and the results were remarkable. Over and over again, tensions that would have transformed into full-blown reflux before would melt away as I did the stress release exercises. All I was left with were this great energy flow and light joy in my guts. Scott is phenomenal. Combining Scott's simple mixture, his food plan, and his easy stress relief techniques when needed gave my guts a much-needed rest. Over the coming weeks, I began experiencing a flow of energy in my guts that I hadn't felt before. The heaviness and pressure I would usually have after eating were gone. Instead, I felt uplifted and energized. At some point, choosing the right food and food combination became second nature. I don't even think about it anymore. Plus, it doesn't matter if I cheat a little once in a while. It doesn't send me into full-blown heartburn. When going out to eat and I know I'm going to consume something I shouldn't, I take 4 or 5 minutes to brew up Scott's remedy and experience no heartburn problems. Best of all, I feel like a normal person again. It's such a relief not dreading going out with friends because you are that weird guy who can't eat or drink the same as others. I can order normally without having to interrogate the waiter about the ingredients in the food, and I can have a drink or 2 without fretting the night. Now it's your turn. Recently, Scott began working with natural health publishing company Blue Heron Health News to spread his knowledge. They published the same 3-step strategy Scott gave me. Take the simple home remedy plus the 11 herbs that supercharge it to stop acid reflux in its tracks. Identify the foods and the food combinations that trigger acid reflux. Address the knot in the stomach using simple stress relief techniques. In addition, he included a chapter specifically focused on pregnant women and acid reflux. Another chapter focuses on infants and children experiencing heartburn. I highly recommend Scott's strategy for anyone suffering from acid reflux, GERD, or heartburn. So, how much does Scott's acid reflux strategy cost? The icing on the cake. Unless you completely eliminate your acid reflux, heartburn, GERD, or whatever else you call it, you end up paying nothing. Unlike dangerous prescriptions or medications that suck $3,000, $5,000, or even $8,000 every year and attempt to murder you in the process. Cheaper, over-the-counter versions digging you into a $1,000 to $2,000 hole year after year and actually make you sick. Or even natural remedies that may not cause side effects but most often don't help either, and rob you of several hundreds or thousands in the process. Not even the $200 Scott charges for a 30-minute session, if you're lucky enough to get one. Nope. As much as Scott knows how effective his system is, he doesn't want to sell it to anyone unless he's 100% sure it will help them. After all, you are not wasting his personal time like I was. Even though he that knows you might be spending your life savings on dangerous, ineffective herbs and medications, are at tremendous risk of dying from cancer and liver damage due to your acid reflux, are suffering every day and night. He still knows that you might hesitate to try his system if you are required to shell out a huge amount of money. And let's be honest, I'm sure Scott could provide you with hundreds of testimonials from people who had similar results as I did, but how do you know whether they're true? He could also bore you with thousands of pages of scientific studies proving different aspects of his acid reflux strategy, but you might still doubt it will work for you. The only way you can find out for sure whether Scott's 3-step strategy will work for your acid reflux is if you try it out for yourself. So, here is how you can try the acid reflux strategy for free. After you click the button below, you'll be charged a small, one-time, fully refundable deposit. I think that's fair, as that is your commitment to giving Scott's strategy your best shot. Without it, this would just be another one of those free online information nobody gives any weight to. It also guarantees that Scott gets a little gratitude from those who benefit from his strategy. And he does deserve some gratitude if he helps you heal your acid reflux, doesn't he? Okay, immediately after you submit your deposit, you'll be redirected to a page where you get full access to Scott's strategy. Start by making the simple home remedy. You most likely have all the ingredients in your kitchen already. So, within 10 minutes from now, you can have your first sip. Imagine the relief if your acid reflux was gone today. If you would sleep through the night without gasping for air, stomach cramps, or throat burning, and wake up without upset stomach burping or even throwing up. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Whether you experience complete relief tonight or not, I recommend you drink Scott's remedy every day for a few days. Then you can move on to steps 2 and 3 in his strategy. Now, if you don't experience the same amazing results as I did, or if you're for whatever reason not completely thrilled with the strategy, maybe you don't like the font type, then I'm truly sorry. In that case, just send the team at Blue Heron Health News a quick email and they'll immediately refund your deposit, no questions asked. You can use the contact link at the bottom of this page or reply to the confirmation email you will receive with your order. Scott Davis and Blue Heron Health News put their plus 40 years of great reputation in the natural health biz on the line, guaranteeing you will be thrilled with either your order or refund. You have 60 days to ask for your deposit back, which means you can thoroughly test out the 3-step acid reflux strategy. If you ask for a refund, I don't think anyone has ever asked, at the least it's very rare. You come out even, lose nothing. But if you manage to cure your acid reflux, just imagine the money you'll save on medications every year. We're talking pocketing an extra $1,000, $4,000, or even $8,000 every single year, tax-free. That's the greatest return on investment I can think of, with zero risk, because if it doesn't work, you lose nothing. But it has to happen today. Why? It's bad enough to go through another agonizing day with acid reflux when you know there is something that could help you, isn't it? Not being able to eat anything you like, being kept up half the night with a burning throat and a bloated stomach, having an almost guaranteed ulcer down the road, if not already. These are bad enough on their own, but add to this the knowledge that your heartburn is putting you at over 1,300% increased risk of 6 types of fatal cancers. 1,300%! That makes it pretty likely that you will get one of those cancers if you don't tackle your heartburn today. Plus, knowing the common medications available for acid reflux cause kidney failure, stroke, dementia, and stomach cancer. Worst of all, this can happen any day. One minute you're fine, the next you're coughing up blood and rushing to a hospital with stage 5 throat cancer. And you know that as you're lying in the ambulance, you will be thinking you should have done something about your acid reflux sooner. You know you will. You still have time today, unlike at that point it will be too late. The time to act is now. It's an ugly truth, but it has to be said. So why don't you click the order button below now and begin addressing your acid reflux within minutes? You risk nothing and have your life and health to gain.